Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly wrap-up show. Hope everybody is doing well. Guys, kindly do me a favor. Just click a like on the channel, subscribe, share. It will do me great pleasure to serve you guys on a day-to-day basis. All I ask is a quick like, and we can move on with our lives. So I was in the gym for the last hour, and I was trying to get my thoughts together, right? Obviously, if you are living under a rock, everybody's going to remember where they heard the word or the company's name, DeepSeek, or as one of my friends who was really long over the weekend keeps on referring to it, SeatGeek, right? DeepSeek, SeatGeek. Again, we're all mentally ill at our advanced age. So if you go back to last week, right? If you go back to last week, the market was very, very strong, okay? Incredibly strong. You had semiconductors, had really aggressive bets, especially going into this week. Very, very aggressive bets, especially deep out of the money calls. You had people positioning for the earnings, right? We have big earnings coming up Wednesday for Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, Thursday for Apple. We have FOMC meeting also on Wednesday. So that was kind of the big deal, right? That was kind of the big picture. If you guys have been following my broadcast or been the webinar with me the last 15 years plus, you kind of know I could see the train coming a mile away, right? I could see it coming a mile away. I could see those lights very, very bright. Okay. It's one of my better attributes that I could spot danger very, very quickly. And when I woke up this morning, right, when I woke up this morning around 5:45, I look and the NASDAQ futures are down 1,000. So I looked again, they were down 1,000. So I think to myself, there's a terrorist attack, right? Something's crazy going on. There's a terrorist that I can't find in the news, right? I can't find any news. I'm expecting a bombing, this, that, and the third. Nothing ever happened, okay? And then I look up and I look at the news and I see that DeepSeek is the #1 app downloaded. What the is DeepSeek, right? Until around 6 o'clock in the morning, I didn't know what DeepSeek was. Apparently, this DeepSeek has been around and it's been kind of a thing since the end of December. Okay, everybody knows everybody who follows the industry knows or knew that it's going to be a competitor, right, to OpenAI. So the fact that it was the #1 downloading app today, well, not necessarily today, but just down overall, it was kind of an issue, which basically means, well, wait a minute, the AI superiors in the room might not be superior. And then you started seeing the language come out, and they basically said, keep this in mind, this is a Chinese competitor. What do we know about the Chinese companies? Sometimes they don't tell us the truth, right? There's plenty of companies throughout history. Look at what is it called? Lutkin Coffee. We're the best, we're the best, we're the best, we're the best. Ponzi scheme, right? Whatever the hell it was. This is the same country that brought you, we're forecasting a GDP of 5-6%. You guys remember that, right? And now, we have an app. We have a technology that we can produce a lot cheaper than you guys, right? Remember all you guys, Zuckerberg and Oracle and Meta and this one and that one, that you guys are dumping billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. We could produce it much better, much faster for a bag of potato chips, a 6-pack of Bud Light, and a dozen donuts. And when you looked what happened, the ripple effect happened, just those words alone. Now, again, these are words, right? Where they teach you when you were younger, sticks and stones may break my bones. These are words. They haven't demonstrated this. There's no data behind this. These are words. We could produce what you guys are spending billions of dollars on in about 5 minutes, 90% cheaper, 3 times faster. You guys suck. We're the best. And that was news alone, right? That news, what right there and then took down the whole AI sector, okay? Took down all the semiconductors, at least in the beginning, right? Took down all the semiconductors, any data center names, any energy names related to the run-up. And when you look down this morning, the NASDAQ was down 1,000 points. NVIDIA got the worst of it, right? NVIDIA and AVGO definitely got the worst of it. NVIDIA today wiped out approximately about $500–600 billion from its market cap. It's a big deal. AVGO got absolutely murdered, right? You can go down the line. Again, there's plenty, I'm trying to do this from the trader's point of view, right? So that's kind of the brief summary. You can go on social media. I'm sure you'll find 3,000 people breaking it down, why it's bad, why it's good, why it's this. For me, I need the basic facts, right? The basic fact is a Chinese company coming from a country that nobody can trust anything they say is basically saying we can make things cheaper, faster. You guys suck. We're the best, right? That's kind of the bottom line. Now, I want to talk about it from the trading point of view, okay? Number one, this gentleman in our webinar, his name is Kane, has been there for years and years and years. He said probably the most important part, what I saw this morning. And he said, this is definitely not nothing. Okay, and that's very, very important. And let me explain to you why. If you guys remember, about 4 or 5 days ago, we got a pretty big headline. Okay, and again, I'm trying to bring you from the trader's point of view, not from the retail, going back and forth, trying to figure out why this is bad, this is good. I want to bring you to from the trader's point of view. So 5 days ago, we got a PR, and the PR basically said that the Trump administration is standing behind a $500 billion, again, granted it's private money, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, it's $500 billion of kind of getting this AI infrastructure ready to go. $500 billion. It's not a cup of coffee. It's a lot of money. Here's kind of where we talk about it from the trading aspect. I know a lot of traders, okay? I've been doing this for a long time. All my friends have been doing this for a long time. Their friends have been doing it for a long time. So we're kind of doing this for a long time. The problem is a lot of hedge funds, a lot of index funds, a lot of prop traders, more or less, right? They position on this game. They position on the whole theme that the AI infrastructure play was going to be on the table for the entire 2025 era. So when you look, these were the stocks that were bought. They were bought NVIDIA, right? They were bought AVGO, Microsoft, who is acting phenomenal, right? Was acting absolutely phenomenal. You had ARM, who was acting absolutely phenomenal. So they position here, right? They position. Keep this in mind. A lot of funds, when you walk into a lot of really big funds, I'm talking about really, really big funds, Appaloosa, Wellington Capital, right? They're not the problem here, okay? Losing $1 billion is a lot. It's not that big of a deal when your fund has $200 billion. The problem is when you're a brand new fund and you have under $200 million in assets under management, or $100 million in assets under management, or $30 million assets under management, and you are playing this theme because, again, the theme is already out there, and the theme is already out there with the biggest names in technology. So when you are positioning in that theme and you have an event, and again, people you talk about the Black Swan event, I think it's a little over-exaggerated, right? But when you have this kind of event take place and you're long these stocks, you're going to have a liquidation problem, okay? You're going to have a liquidation problem if you are maxed out to the gills in these names, and you had every right to do so because, again, that was the theme and that was the right thing to do. So now that we're here, right? Now that we're here and you look at the final tally today, and it's an ugly tally, right? It's an absolute ugly tally. You have today the Dow, what actually green on the day, up 300 points. The S&P was fine. down 1.5%. The NASDAQ actually rallied. I thought I'd say that, it was only down 600 points, but when you look at down 1,100 points, that's kind of a big deal. So when you're in this type of situation, like what happens next, right? What happens next? Those $100 million funds lost a lot of money today. They probably got a call from their clearing firm, their prime broker, and say, hey, we need more collateral, right? When you're dealing with prop brokers, when you deal with prop traders, well, what happened if you're long all these stocks overnight? You probably got stopped out at the bottom, right? Reality, you probably got stopped out at the bottom. And when you look at the volume today, right, and you look at the volume, for example, like at NVIDIA traded 800 million shares today. Okay. Somebody wanted out. Somebody needed out. There was a lot of liquidation today. And you could turn around and say, well, that's great. All the weak hands. And again, I don't want to call these people weak hands by no stretch of the imagination, especially if you're running a book of $200, $300, $400 million, might not be the greatest, biggest book in the world. That's still a healthy line to swing. But when you look at all this volume, you say, well, all the volume now has happened on the bottom. This is bullish. All the people are out. Now the stocks can go higher. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But here's kind of where it gets tricky, right? When you have this type of an event, and this type of event, again, I don't want to compare this to 9/11. I don't want to compare this to the mortgage crisis. Hell, I don't even want to compare this to COVID. Right? Into COVID, because again, these are things that are completely disconnected, completely separate. But the common denominator behind all those events is the volatility is going to start up. It's not like a one-day event. This is not going to be over by Wednesday. This is not something that's going to be decisively in our rear view mirror by next Tuesday. This is an ongoing event. This is kind of a big deal. There's a lot of moving parts now around, okay? Are the semiconductors not as sexy AI investment as people thought they were? What happens now if the mutual funds start deciding, oh, wait a minute, okay, our analyst is now saying there's a new player on the block, okay, it's going to take away market share from XYZ. Again, I don't know. I'm an idiot, okay? I'm a trader. I'm not an investor. I'm not an analyst. I go strictly by price action. Price action tells me the whole story. So going into tomorrow, I don't need to know everything about the saga of DeepSeek, or SeatGeek, as my friend would said it today 200 times. I don't need to know. I just need to know what's happening next. And what's happening next is, well, put on your seatbelt, right? Put on your seatbelt, because it's going to get very, very bumpy. You can have very, very aggressive sell-offs. You have very, very aggressive rallies. Okay, you better be trading a lot smaller size, because this is not a regular scenario that, hey, one of these, AI stocks just missed earnings and one day just everything came down. This is kind of a big deal. Whether this whole DeepSeek company, which again, I heard literally till 6 o'clock in the morning, if this is a big deal, this is a big deal. But here's my question to the audience. Maybe you guys can answer it. I can't, right? I can't. So if this DeepSeek was around all the way from the late part of December, well, why was today the Black Swan event? What made today more special? You're telling me that the fact that this app was the #1 downloaded app, now all of a sudden this made a Black Swan event that takes away nearly $500-600 billion out of market cap on an NVIDIA? Again, I don't know. You tell me, right? I have no idea. But the most ironic part, right? Ironic part about this whole greatest slice of bread of all time, go on this little app, right? On this DeepSeek app, and ask them, right? This innovative app, ask them who the president of the United States is. They'll tell you as of December, it's still Joe Biden. This is your hero? Well, your hero made a splash. And again, I don't know how to interpret this, right? Again, there's all these tariff talks going on from Trump taxing China. Maybe this is China's way of giving us the big FU and say, hey, look, you want to tag us? We're going to tag you. And trillions upon trillions of investment losses all happen today. So maybe that's their version of telling us FU too as well. We don't know. But the moral of the story going into tomorrow, yes, there definitely were some names that held up very, very well, right? These were the buyers of these chips. Apple held on very, very well. Amazon, right? Held up very, very well. Stock went green on the day. Meta, what a monster Meta is, right? Meta, crazy, extremely great. You got crowdsource at one point that did very, very well. You had net, right? There was green on the day. So the question is for tomorrow, is this going to be an isolated event strictly for the data centers, strictly for the energy names, strictly for the semiconductor names, right? Or is this something that is going to eventually spill over to everything else? Again, I don't know. This is just an open question that I don't think anything anybody can answer. But here's my at least plan going into tomorrow, right? At least my plan. Number one, today I wanted to see in the first half hour how the market was going to react. We saw violence all over the place. The market spiked up and then the market went down and the market spiked up and the market went down. Sure, yes, we had some pivots and the pivots worked pretty decently. The one that didn't work, which I'm mind boggled, I shorted the Qs into the 50-day moving average, right? It looks perfect. Nice call, Dan. You're a must follow. Yeah, it looked great. I shorted it perfectly. I figured that's the top. It's going to get rejected back to the 50-day moving average. It got rejected. It ran up $1, stopped me out literally at the high, not at the highs, within 30 cents of the highs of the day. Then I watched it drop $6. And I said right there and then, prepare for this to be a thing going forward. So tomorrow, again, the strong stocks we need to continue to watch, the Metas of the world, the Amazons of the world, right? But names, for example, like NVIDIA, again, is there possible this thing gets a dead cat bounce tomorrow? Sure. I mean, the damn thing was murdered today, right? AVGO, ARM, all these things. Is it possible they have, come back, 5%, 8%, 3%? Sure. But the value is, and again, I'll be looking at potential rejections tomorrow into supply. But the value on these things, I hate to say it, again, I'm strictly speaking from the trader's point of view. The value is if they lose today's ranges and give us another day. We saw a massive option flow on NVIDIA today. Again, 800 million shares traded. We saw weekly 115s, weekly 110s. We saw next month's $99 puts. So again, this is a very fluid situation. This is not going to be over within one day. Again, and if you compound everything that we know today, well, we also have FOMC on Wednesday and the start of Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla earnings on Wednesday, followed by Apple on Thursday. So again, this is not for the faint of heart. This is not an ego contest. This is not a measuring point that everybody's measuring their peckers. This is an area that you need to really understand what's going on, really understand your channels, understand your supply and demand zones, and don't be a hero, right? Do not be a hero. This is not for the faint of heart. Going into tomorrow, again, let's see what happens. I'm going to use the first half hour to kind of gauge what I'm seeing. I want to see the options market start betting one way or another. And by 10 o'clock, if the options market is correlating to what I'm seeing, a 10 o'clock confirmation, then I'll only go into a trade. But very aggressive. Again, if you want to know exactly what's going on with this DeepSeek versus ChatGPT and the effects of NVIDIA, I'm sure there's 1,000,001 different publications, people on social media that will give you their opinion. I'm a dumb schmuck, the king of the idiots. The only thing I do know is price action. Guys, God bless. Let's take it smart. Let's take it easy. Be a professional. And God's help, I'll see you all in the field tomorrow.